Hey guys, thanks for stopping by. Today we're going to show you how to swap out the grip of your PF-9. And we're going to show you a couple of different color options that you can see on our website, Kel-Tec-Weapons.com. So safety first, and we have our chamber flag in here. So we're going to go ahead and take that out. Just pull the slide back, lock it into the rear position. There it is. And then from that point we can go ahead and take out the assembly pin. Just prise straight up. Sometimes you can even pull these out with your fingernail. Mine aren't that tough, but. And then what you'll do is hold the slide firmly, bring the slide stop down, and the slide comes right off the front of the gun, just like that. And the next step, this is very important, we're going to take the pressure off the hammer spring. In order to do that, we'll have to grab the hammer spring catch, we'll lift it up gently, and bring it forward gently, and then set it down inside the grip. And I'll use the leverage on the actual front side of the grip here to do that. So, and I'll use this hook side of the scribe to kind of catch myself under there. So we just want to come up slightly, forward, and then down into the grip, just like that. That relieves the pressure on your hammer spring here, so we can go ahead and get our assembly pins out easily. And we'll take our hammer and our punch. These knockout boards I highly recommend them, by the way. You just take a piece of wood, drill a 1-inch hole in it, and it'll allow you to knock pins out of your gun here, and you don't lose them. They're not rolling all over the desk and everything. So just a little helpful tip there. Get yourself a knockout board. And we'll go ahead and knock the pins out. These are the frame pins, by the way. That's what they're called. Just like so, and then we'll make sure we got all three of them here. And see, this knockout board works great because it kind of keeps things captive when you knock them out. You just pick the board up and everything's right there for you. Now, in order to get the frame insert and your internal parts out of the grip itself, I just take my scribe, or you can use the punch as well, and just kind of lift up gently on the frame, just like so. And what you'll want to do when you take the frame insert out is cup it with your whole hand. I go ahead and just kind of grab it with my thumb and my index finger in the front of the frame here, and I just pull up on the trigger assembly and just pull everything out. And I'll show you what I mean. So this is our old grip. We're going to put that aside, and I'll go ahead and take the internal parts off for you so you can see. A lot of times these will fly off. So you just want to make sure you're in kind of a sterile environment, an area that's clear so you don't lose any springs or anything. And this will be the slide stop side of your frame, and then your trigger assembly side of your frame here. So what we want to do is to put the trigger bar back on. Just go ahead and set this opening on the catch there, and then you'll take the trigger spring, you spin it around, and just kind of drop it into place there. It rides right on the bottom side of the trigger bar. And then for the slide stop side, you put the slide stop in first, and you take your spring, and it sits, you can see how it sits right in this little cutout portion of the frame there. And I always try to put the front side, or the top side of the spring into the top side of the little cutout first, and then I'll hold it with my left thumb and just kind of click it up into place there. I see my trigger bar just, oh, that's what I'm talking about. Make sure you got that sterile environment. My trigger bar came off, so we'll stick that back on real quick. Real simple. It's a lot easier to do when I don't explain it. And then we'll take our new grip. Now, it's a very important part of this. This here is called your hammer block, and this is an internal safety mechanism, so you have to make sure that we do this properly. And I'll show you the technique when I go to put the frame insert back into the grip. This is it's under a spring tension, so when you push it forward, it's going to want to lay to the rear side of the grip, which is totally normal. So you'll take your hammer spring, put it in a 90-degree angle, and then you turn the frame you'll set the trigger assembly down in there. And now I'm leaving the back portion of the frame up out of the grip intentionally because I'm going to take my scribe, I'm going to push forward on the hammer block while simultaneously pushing down on the grip, on the frame down into the grip, and I'll show you what that looks like. And you'll want to pinch the scribe in there. So just make sure you're on a good solid surface. Push that forward. Keep pressure on the top of the frame, pushing down into the grip while I'm pushing forward on the hammer block, and then just go ahead and push the grip down. Now it doesn't matter what position the hammer is in at this point. You just want to make sure you have the hammer block forward so that you can engage the sear that's on the hammer. We'll go ahead and put our frame pins back in. Like so. Make sure you use the nylon side of your hammer. Now this part's very important for safety reasons. On the bottom side of the hammer spring catch, there's actually a loop, and I take this portion of my scribe and I'll loop it in there, and I'll show you what that looks like when we pull it out. So you just kind of slide it in there, and when you're pulling up on the hammer spring, first of all, you don't want to pull it too far because you'll stretch the spring and that can cause malfunctions, light striking with the gun. And the other thing is, when you are pulling it up, just pull it up slightly, and you're just going to pull it up and rest it in there. Kind of the same way we took it out. We just pulled it up slightly, brought it forward, and dropped it down in there. So now we're just going to pull up slightly and bring it to the rear. But you want to keep the sharp end of the scribe or whatever tool you're using, keep it away from you so you don't actually hit yourself in the face. Obviously you don't want to puncture yourself with the sharp end of the scribe if this is what you decide to use. So I always just pull it up away from me. So just a little safety tip for you. Just up and in, and there you can see how I have it hooked through the bottom of the spring there on top of the roll pin. So, and you just slide that out, and that's it. Now I'll take the hammer. If it wasn't already in the rear position, I'll just take it and pull it back, and it should lock into place. And now it's locked there on the hammer block that we were pushing forward on in the grip. And I'll just take my thumb and I'll hold the hammer down and pull the trigger, make sure that it's locking into place, which it is. You don't want to dry fire the gun with the slide and barrel assembly off the gun. That's why I have my thumb here, because I don't want the hammer to fall forward. You can damage parts of your frame or whatever. So, and then I can do a trigger check where I push down on the trigger bar, pull the trigger to the rear, and then let it go. And when I let it go, I should hear 2 solid clicks. That means I've got a good reset. I got 2 clicks there. Check it again. That's good. That means all of our trigger bar is in the right place, the spring's in the right place, and all of our internal assemblies are in good shape. So from there, you take your slide and barrel, slide it onto the front. There's another very important part of reassembly. I'll show you what it looks like properly done, and then I'll show you what it looks like if you can't seem to get the barrel to lock up in the right place. So what you want to do, push down on the barrel and pull back on the slide and lock it back simultaneously. This should allow the barrel to kind of move back and forth freely underneath the, or above the frame and inside the slide assembly. So I'll show you what that looks like one more time. So I'm pushing down on the barrel. I kind of keep my right thumb on the slide stop so it's ready, and I keep pressure on it so as the slide comes back it automatically locks into position. So kind of push down on it, pull back and lock it in at the same time. And I'll show you what happens if you don't push down on the barrel. So that's what happens. Now it moves back and forth, but as you can see inside the ejection port here, you're seeing the chamber. You shouldn't be able to see the top portion of the chamber here through the ejection port if you do it properly. Because what will happen is, if you take your assembly pin and you put it through this opening here, the assembly pin is going to end up in front of the barrel lug. Now if it's in front of the barrel lug, it's going to lock everything up, and it causes a lot of problems trying to get the gun apart again. It makes it very, very difficult to field strip the gun and do it right. So if you do see this, do not put your assembly pin in. Go ahead and disengage the slide again, and then we'll push down on the barrel, pull it back. That's what it should look like. Now when you move the barrel back and forth, you shouldn't see any part of the barrel coming through the ejection port. look just like that. And then at that point, you know that it's safe to go ahead and put your assembly pin back in. You can see there where your barrel lug moves back and forth. You just want to find that opening there. And then you'll take your assembly pin and put the flat side of your assembly pin facing down towards the trigger, and then the grooved side up. And this is the part we use to pry the pin out. So go ahead and set it in there. And you may have to kind of wiggle the barrel a little bit back and forth to find that sweet spot, and then press it in. You should hear it snap in. Just like that. Function check. Everything seems to be good. So now we've got our tan PF-9 grip all ready to go. What punch is this? 5/32.